my name is Gwilliam, and today we are, as the title says, putting a key worker's car back on the road. Now there are a few jobs we need to do to the car. First thing we're doing is changing this. Is a rocker cover gasket. We're also changing the oil and changing the filter, and there might be some other little jobs to do as well. Now I'm wearing a mask because there is obviously a pandemic, and we're still going to get the work done because this guy is a key worker and needs to make sure that his car is up and running and needs to make sure he can get to work. So let's get outside, let's get to the car, and let's get going. So there's no time to lose. We've just got the cover off.
The coils.
That shows the coils and the sparks. So basically, that's the pan for when we do the oil. And basically, this whole thing here is the rocker cover. So the gasket that separates this and the head, I think, is what we are changing today. So now the next step is to get everything ready to get that off, to put the gasket on. So as we jack the car up for ease of access, one of the things I have noticed is that the coil packs actually have numbers on the end. So that is actually really useful for when you are taking coil packs off. And if they haven't got numbers on, get some tippets, get something you can find, number them yourself, because it will make your life a lot easier putting them back in, and you won't put them in the wrong way. That means the engine won't work. I mean, it might be awkward, it might be whatever you want, but two of the coil packs actually require bolts to be taken out. They're 8mm, so we've just taken them out on this side. We're going to take them out on this side to get the other two coil packs out. So as the coil packs are off, the next thing to get off is these clips, so we can unattach these hoses. And basically that will give us, we think so far, complete full access to this cover, so we can take it off. So we're just taking this sensor off now to give us access, if I can lift it off. It's being awkward to lift off, and I'm going to need two hands. So basically once this is off, we can unhook these two wires from these clips and then start undoing these bolts here. So now, the moment of truth, it should theoretically lift off. So as we try and pry it open now, there's the cover. And there is the gasket. And now one thing to do when you are changing something like that is to make sure you have the new one and make sure it kind of looks the same, which it does, which is good. So we're going to replace this now. So for all gaskets, and especially ones that are on your engine, the surface needs to be clean for it to work properly. Now what we're doing, we've got a rag and we have got some brake and parts cleaner. There is a fancy name for it, but I'm just going to call it brake cleaner. And basically what we're doing is cleaning the edge around where the gasket will go onto, so it works better, because the cleaner the surface is, the better the gasket will work. Also, when you are cleaning the surfaces, make sure there are two surfaces to clean. There's the one at the bottom and also the one at the top. So in this case, the underside of the rocker cover also needs to be cleaned, because both surfaces need to mate to the gasket for it to work properly. So make sure you clean both sides of adhesion. Is that the right word? Either way, make sure you clean both sides, and yeah, because that may your gasket will work better. One thing I don't ever think I'll be used to is these masks during the pandemic. It is weird. I don't think I'll ever get used to it, and it's just weird. In all complete serious note, this is a serious thing. Make sure you guys are staying safe during COVID-19. You're following all your recommended guidelines, making sure that you are keeping safe, only going outdoors for essential things, and basically making sure that we can all get back to the things we love as quick as possible. So make sure you're staying safe, wash your hands, and back to the video. Gasket's going on, and basically we're going to try and check, first thing you do, check all of the holes line up, which it seems as if they do. And obviously this gasket is good because it has a top label and an exhaust manifold side label. So obviously that is the exhaust manifold, and that is the exhaust manifold side. So we've got to make sure we've got it on the right way around. Just check that all the holes line up, which it seems on this one like they do, so that's good. Right, so gasket's on, and I'm going to try and put the rocker cover back on. So make sure it goes the same way around as you took it off, and I've been told make sure to try and not make sure the gasket moves as you put it on. So if I just put it that way, so that's definitely the right way around. So now I don't know whether there's a best way to do this. This is the first time I've done this with especially with this car, so I don't know whether it's sort of best to hose is kind of in the way. If you can move that for me, that'd be awesome. Thank you Dad behind the camera. So I'm going to put this on there, hopefully. So I'm going to line up this spark plug holes, I think, my first step. And then make sure all the other holes are lined up, which seems like
At 10 manner.
they are. And I think, hold on, it's come out of place. This is why, you know what, we're all, I don't claim to be a professional here.
Put the bolts through and hold it in place.
Right, so that's back on there. The camera needs to be on that bit. So I think that's all good now. I think maybe yes, no. It's experimental. We're all learning at the same time. So I'm making the mistakes so you guys don't. So basically, I'll grab the camera now. Basically what we're doing is just putting bolts in place to try and hold it in, because it is a bit awkward. It likes to move basically, so we're just trying to fit it in and make sure it all lines up properly, because the worst thing you want is for your gasket not to line up, because then it won't work properly. So that looks pretty good. We're all lined up. So after I kind of awkwardly made a tiny bit of a mess of putting the cover back on, it's all sorted now. So we're now putting all the bolts back on. Now they don't go very tight, which is why we've got the power tool on the very lowest setting, which is a very low amount of Newton meters. And as soon as it clicks, like so, we are getting it off and making sure it doesn't click, and we're doing them in a certain order, so to make sure that the gasket seals properly and it all goes on. So this is what we're doing. We're going to do all this 15 bolts for this particular cover. That's all going on as we click. And yes, so then the only thing we've got to put on now is this sensor back on here, plug the hoses back in with the clips on, and plug these wires back into these clips here. And I'm pretty sure that is everything as soon as we put the coil packs back on. And then we can put the outer cover back on top. So we'll start doing all that now. Please don't go at me too hard in the comments. That was the first time I've ever done anything like that. Luckily, I have got two people here with me that do know what they're doing, and we'll make sure it's all on right. So don't go at me too hard, please. Thanks. So I have lied to you guys. We have got one more thing to do, and this is a torque wrench. So we need to make sure that those 15 bolts that we put on over there are to the right torque, and that lowest setting on the thing was just to make them, the power tool was to make them slightly tight, and then this torques them up to the correct setting. You can find your setting either in a Haynes manual or search it on Google, something like that, but it's different for every car. And we believe for this car it's 9 or 10 Newton meters. So that's what we're going to do with this torque wrench now. Make sure all 15 of those are torqued up to the right setting in the right order. So we're going to do that now, and then join you once we've done it. So that's all on now. Rocker cover is fully changed. Everything's plugged back in. Everything's all back on. So the next thing we're going to do, change the oil and the filter. So we've just gone underneath the car and we've located the sump plug, which is that one there. The car's on axle stands. Always make sure you've got axle stands on if you are going to be underneath the car. That is an oil catcher, and when you are disposing of the oil, make sure you put it somewhere like a tip or a rubbish dump or somewhere where it is allowed, and the specific place for the oil. This is just a pan to catch any oil that doesn't go in the bottle. So we're underneath. My dad's going to do it, and I'm going to speak through what he's doing. Basically, he's got the catcher pan in his hand, lifted up towards the sump. He's cracked it off already. He's going to undo the sump plug. Hopefully you can see what's going on. I'm trying to point to it. He's undoing the sump plug. It's always good to make sure that you catch as much oil as possible, and preferably catch every single drop, because it is hard to get out of driveways, etc. So as you can see, the oil's dropped, and I'm hoping that you can see the oil on the filter. We've got a lovely bit of laminar flow there. We love that. So it's all going to drop into the pan, and any that miss the pan is going to be onto this catcher. And this is a sump plug here. Make sure to keep that with the oil, but hopefully if you've got an open bucket rather than a catcher, make sure the sump plug does not go in that oil, because it's going to be difficult to fish out later. So as you can see, lovely bit of laminar flow. I'm going to pick up the phone and show you. Lovely bit of laminar flow there with the oil coming out. So yeah, it's all going to get caught in this, and yeah, that's the oil drained. Cups of tea are always good when you're working on cars. So this thing here is an oil filter removal tool. Now it's the first time I've ever used one of these, and basically I'll demonstrate on the new filter how it works. So Dad, can you mind holding the camera for me so I can show everyone how it works? So essentially this strap here goes around the filter. So this is what we're doing under the car, and then you sort of tighten it up. Is it the other way? It's the other way. First time I've ever used one of these. So if I twist it off, it's complicated tool, but it will work. So you tighten it up like this, so you sort of spin it around, and essentially what it does, it gets tight on the old filter, and then eventually you can get a ratchet on the end and undo the old filter. So basically, we're going to do that with the old one underneath the car. So we're going to do that now and then show you the old filter, the difference between the old one and the new one. So I've got the new filter here, and the old one is just draining there, as you can see. So if we just sort of grab that to show you guys, it's basically, as you can see, filter is old. Basically, it's just needs replacing. As you can see around the outside, it's been a decent while. So it's good that we are changing it. So another thing, when you are putting the filter back on, only do it hand tight, because make sure you don't overdo the oil filter. Also, around this edge, if you put a bit of the oil, so that when you are screwing it in, it tries to seal itself rather than grip, because with no oil on the end, if you try and do it in hand tight, it will try and grip and try and force itself in. Whereas with the oil on the end, what it will do is you do it tight, and once it's tight, it should seal. So again, only do it hand tight. Do not use a tool to put this back in, and also make sure you've got some oil around the edge. This particular car, when we put the filter back on and put the sump plug back in, always remember to put the sump plug back in. The oil it needs, we're going to put the oil. You find out the oil, Google it, Haynes manual, you'll find the oil. Basically, you also need to find out the amount of oil you put in. Now this car is in between 4 and 4.5 litres. Now we're going to put 4.5 litres in because we've changed the filter. So because we've changed the filter, it requires more oil than just changing the oil itself. So 4.5 litres is what we're going to put in. Filter's going to go on, sumper's going to go back in, and we're going to put the oil in. A quick thing, I did say put the sump plug back on. It's always good either put a new one on, or if you put the old one on, if it has some form of washer or seal, make sure to replace it. So this is the old washer. It's just aluminium. It's just a compressor bit when you put it in, as you can see by the little ridge there. However, this is a Doughty seal, that it's called. This is a Doughty seal, and as you can see, it's got the metal around the outside, and also has a rubber ring on the inside, if you can see that. Rubber ring around the outside. Now this is obviously better quality seal. We can put this back on the sump plug when we put it in, and it'll be as basically as if we're putting a new sump plug in, because this seal is going to be much better than that one. So always make sure put a new sump plug in or replace the seal. When we're putting the oil in, it's good to put a little bit in there first. That's what I've been told. Also, so that is an assister. It's basically a funnel that actually sits on the top of the oil can itself. However, a normal funnel is completely fine, and you can do it without a funnel. This is just to stop all the oil going everywhere in and around the engine. So put a good little bit in now, aren't we? Yeah.
Good half, 3/4.
A good half, and then what we're going to do is use the measurement down the side of the oil can to make sure we put about 4.5 litres in, because that is a 5
and then we'll check
litre
with the
tub.
dipstick.
Then, obviously, you check with the dipstick. So you get the dipstick out, wipe it, put it back in, get it out, and check the level. It should be obviously in between the minimum and maximum levels, and that's when you know you've got enough oil in. So once that's done, that's the oil change and filter change completely done. Put a little bit in until we checked the dipstick and it was almost on the max. So then what we did is turn the car on and run it, because what that's done is basically circulated all the oil through the system, and then that gives us more room to fill the last bit of oil that we needed in the thing. And we're just checking the dipstick now. Is it looking good?
We're looking good.
Dipstick looks good. So basically, turning it on, circulated all the oil. And if you don't do that, basically the car won't have enough oil, because it hasn't circulated through the filter and through all the system. And now it has, and we've put the extra oil in that it's used to go into the system, and therefore it's got enough oil in the engine itself. So that's it, the oil change is done, the filter's done, and we've changed the rocker coupler gasket. So then, that's the job done for today. We have basically we've fixed a key worker's car and kept them on the road in this difficult time. Now, the reason why this is important is because all key workers, we need to make sure that they are on the road and they can continue to do their job and help us what they're doing. They're a massive help. All the people who work for the NHS, all the delivery drivers, any key worker who's risking their lives to help everyone out in this bad time. It's awesome that I can help out in my own little way and also make a video for you guys. That's it from me. Stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.